What's going on, top performer? In this program, I'm going to refer to you as a top performer, or a 10%er, or a high performer, maybe a superstar. It's important that you assume this identity, but it's also important that your image is not misaligned with it, as that can delay your career progression and leave you feeling frustrated and underpaid. In this video, I'm going to arm you with what you need to avoid this misalignment. You see, nearly 90% of employees believe they are top performers in their workplace, meaning they self-identify as a top performer, but those who control the raises and promotions see them as average or maybe mid to high performers. But the reality is that most people are not top performers. In fact, only about 10% of employees are considered top performers by their employers. I spent the first part of my career thinking I was a top performer, but I can now look back and realize my employer would have considered me an average performer. I didn't realize it at the time, but neither do most people. In fact, according to a study by Businessweek, 90% of managers think they're among the top 10% of performers in the workplace. And for executives, the number is a staggering 97%. That implies 9 out of 10 employees in every organization are top performers. I don't know about you, but I've never been surrounded by that many top performers. So why is there such a large disconnect? It's because most of us define success through our own lens, with our own criteria. This is why we usually classify our own inner circle as amazing. This works just fine if it is aligned with how our employer measures success. But more often than not, it creates a blind spot because your employer is looking at performance through their own lens, which is completely different than your own. Here's why. One of the most popular performance management methods, known as the vitality curve, calls for individuals to be ranked or rated against other coworkers. Many companies practice it, often covertly to avoid direct criticism because it's got a bad name over times. It's also known as stack ranking, forced ranking, and rank and yank, hence the bad name. At GE, it was called the 20-70-10 system. This is where it was popularized. Ultimately, it meant that the top 20% of the workforce is the most productive. The vital 70 work adequately, and the bottom 10% are non-producers and should be fired, hence the rank and yank. These names don't scream, "Let's collaborate." So today's companies try to give it a more pleasant name, like the empower and inspire approach. They've evolved slightly, with some companies providing regular feedback and reviews throughout the year, often given by peers, bosses, and others. But don't be fooled. Even companies that use similar approaches have some form of ranking, such as Netflix Keeper Test, where they regularly perform a Keepers test to only retain high performers. Regardless of your company's approach, the key is to stand out as a high performer. Our aim is to be in the top 10% for your level. At that level, your employer will do more to retain you because they fear losing top performers, because studies show you bring in more than 4 times more value than your peers. This is why they reserve the best perks for superstars. You are harder to replace and your personal return on investment is more compelling. If you're thinking, well, Michael, what if I'm in the top 15%? Well, that's great. Just know that if you're in the top 15%, you may slip to 20% or even 25%. And as soon as you're in that range, you're in the more crowded space of average performers. Aiming for the top 10% gives you a buffer and more leverage. Besides, you're a top performer, and that's what top performers do. Aim for the top. Okay, so why is this so important? How we see ourselves versus how others see us can be very different, and having clarity on the difference between your image and your identity will help you align the two and not be surprised if how you would evaluate yourself is out of sync with how others might. Identity is how you see yourself, while image is how others see you. Image is your reputation or personal brand. Your brand is what distinguishes you from others. During each interaction you have, people are determining if they want to buy or interact with you again and again. You might not receive a review on Yelp, but each interaction does inform how others see you. This is your image. It is up to you to manage and control the narrative around it, or else someone else may do it for you. This difference in perceptions can have a negative impact on your career advancement if you believe you are operating at a high level, while others' perceptions are quite the opposite. This is what leads to most people being disappointed come raise time, as they assumed they were performing at a higher level. It can also impact your ability to build a network, as you may think that you're brilliant at something, but your network may see you as bringing very little value. Oh, and if that's the case, your network seeing very little value in you, I would argue that they're not really your network, because a network forms when you contribute to it. Here are a few more examples where your image and identity may not align. You may believe you're a great writer, maybe even the next Hemingway, but When others read your emails, they wonder if a tiny bird was dancing on your keyboard. You may think you're hilarious, but others may find your jokes mean-spirited. You may think you are a fast responder to email, but to someone else you might be perceived as taking forever, requiring follow-up. In fact, they might start calling you snail mail behind your back. You may think you're efficient at your job, but data may suggest that you're twice as slow as others. You may think you are a great leader, but your team might think you are clueless. This isn't to say that you should care about everything everyone says. You'll always have critics. In fact, the more successful you are, the more critics you'll have. But you do need to decide what is or isn't inhibiting your personal brand and your personal goals. Your personal brand is a way that you present yourself to the world, including your skills, experiences, and values. You want a strong personal brand because it can help you stand out, attract opportunities, and build credibility. It also helps you to prioritize your own opportunities, as you can select opportunities that help foster your brand or move you toward how you want to be seen in the future, or your future brand. Now, if you're thinking, Michael, most people have no defined personal brand and they get by just fine. You're right, but we're not aiming for just fine here. We're aiming for the top 10%, baby. Any brand manager knows how to describe their product, and you are your own brand manager, and you are the product. What do you want to be known for? The answer to that and how you describe yourself will evolve, but you have the choice. Do you want to shape it or let others shape it for you? If you were to ask 10 colleagues how they describe you, what would they say? Would their image of you match up to your own identity? If not, are you okay with that? Or do you want to take action to align it with how you want to be perceived? As a top performer, you want to control your image and close any gaps where it matters. And that takes us into the action for this lesson. In the workbook, you'll find some examples of how others might describe individuals in specific roles, including some examples of well-known individuals as a more common point of reference. On that same tab, you'll also find a placeholder for your own brand statement. In this section, you will want to capture how you would want others to describe you today. You'll also want to do this for your role tomorrow in the future, and how you would want them to describe you in 3 months or 2 years from now. This is you leaning into that next level role. If you're still unclear of what that next level role is, then you can come back to this after you complete those next few modules. Just make sure you complete the next level brand essence, because you're going to be using this as you continue to move forward and present yourself for your next role. Now, whether that's a promotion or a raise, this exercise will benefit you. When capturing your own brand essence, try to keep it to 2 to 3 sentences max. It should quickly summarize what you stand for, your standout strengths, and aim to invoke a particular thought, feeling, or emotion. Let's look at a few examples. Elon Musk. Musk is the CEO of SpaceX and Tesla, and is known for his ambitious plans to revolutionize the transportation and energy industries. He has a strong personal brand as a visionary and innovative thinker, and is often seen as a leader in his field. Oprah Winfrey. Winfrey is a media executive, actress, and philanthropist, best known for her long-running talk show, The Oprah Winfrey Show. She has a strong personal brand as a motivational speaker and a thought leader, and is known for her authenticity and ability to connect with others. And here's an example of an independent contributor. Sarah is a graphic designer at a marketing firm. She's known for her attention to detail and her ability to consistently produce high-quality designs. She has a strong personal brand as a reliable and skilled designer, and is often sought out by her colleagues for assistance on projects. In all of these examples, you see the high-level skills, sub-strengths, and qualities, and we weave in how others receive them on an emotional level. For Musk, he's a visionary who is shaping the future. For Oprah, it's an inspiring thought leader. And for Sarah, she's someone who is reliable and sought after. You'll find other examples in the worksheet. Now, it may be tempting to capture all the wonderful things about yourself, but pull back on the reins and keep it short and concise. After you capture your brand essence statement, comes the real meat of this exercise. You're going to schedule time with at least 5 colleagues to see how well your perception of yourself, your brand essence, lines up to how they see you, their perceptions ultimately. When possible, you want to roll this into an existing meeting, lunch, or coffee. This way it's more casual. I've written some guidelines in the script vault that you can access, which you'll find below this video and in your workbook. Your boss should be one of the individuals you reach out to. However, we will also have specific conversations with him or her later, so it's okay if you prefer to hold off on this until you're further along in the program. Obviously, any disconnect with them is going to be the most impactful, so you'll still need to have this conversation with them eventually. If you're worried that during these conversations, your image and identity are not going to be aligned, don't be. You win either way. That's why we're doing this. These insights will help you refine your image and close any personal brand gaps. That's the purpose of this exercise. You want to close those gaps. Let's take it back to the numbers. Around 90% of people identify as top performers. Yet, the image that decision makers who decide who gets a raise have of most employees is that they are average performers and may be clueless to your aspirations. Your goal is to create greater alignment between your image and your identity, and to make your own goals known so you can attract more opportunities and more people to help you live into those. All right, let's summarize the actions here. You're going to complete your brand essence statement. You're going to schedule at least 5 feedback sessions. You want to identify the gaps. If how they answer doesn't align with your brand statement, then it points to the disconnect with how you see yourself versus how others see you, and there is a greater opportunity for you to shape your image. Exercises in later videos will help you close these gaps, but for now, gather the information and take note. In a few months, if you were to go through this exercise again, you will be pleased to see this has become a natural part of how you operate, and you'll find your odds of thinking you are a top performer when others don't is highly unlikely. Ultimately, this exercise will help you identify any blind spots and get better at putting your ego in check so it doesn't stand in your way of your progress. We all perceive the world differently, but understanding it in the eyes of others will let you better understand and shape how others see you. That's the end of this video, and I will see you at the top. That's it for this lesson. I hope you found it valuable. If so, this is one of the core lessons from my Career Accelerator system. If you want the full course with the workbook, scripts, and bonus tools, you can get access at careeraccelerator.me. Or you can dive into the next lesson here.